kings in the pocket, they go, oh, that's where the questions go. Now what you don't want to do as a magician, and this is what you see when people first get panic and they're first working with it, is people say, hey, clean, so clean, must have clean. You show them a new trick, they go, clean? Have clean? Okay. So what you don't want to do is that. What you want to do instead is what Ascanio called the open and the in-transit action. So here's how that works. At this point, I don't do this. This is an in-transit action. So what always happens is your eyes move to the open action, which is going to be the pocket. So I look. And then after I look in the direction of the open action, you should practice this at home with me. No one's going to see if you want to go through this with cards in your hand. Mirror me, right? I look down, and as I look down in transit, I just go with my right hand to that same direction. That's how the audience knows what I'm looking at. Otherwise, I'd be like, look over there. We don't want the audience thinking I'm just trying to distract them. So in short order, after I go and look, I go there. And in transit, this just disappears as I'm going in there to get the cards. Does that make sense? Do you have any particular questions about it?
Someone has asked, how do you work in panic with the machine? I think they just mean machine. But.
Well, that's a great question.
Are you heading that way?
I don't know, but okay. Thank you for everything you've done for me.
I got a better question.
No, why are we here?
Yeah.
No, what's your better question?
Well,
that wasn't actually a bad question. It was
that's a great question.
It was a sensational question.
I have what I think you'll think is a better question too.
Oh, fair enough.
We may be discussing this early as well. How do you get the audience to remember the pictures that you want them to remember? You were talking earlier about the pictures you want them to remember and the pictures you don't want them to remember.
Yeah. Well, that's a really great question. But the real answer, for our purposes here and now, because this is the kind of thing that's like, it's called the craft of magic and it could take you a whole lifetime. I mean, that's what we're doing. But beyond that, in this moment, the first secret is to realize that that's the trip. One of the things I encourage some of my students to do when they're ready for it is to draw out a little storyboard, a little comic book, even if it's with stick figures, of the important moments of the effect. Oh no, present company totally excluded. Totally excluded. That was completely like a Dan Harlan joke, but I didn't even mean it like that. It was totally, he invented cartoon, remember? Like totally he did. Okay. I went down to the magic store to see that on purpose once. I was like, whoa. It was crazy. You should have seen it, man. There were like magic stores and they roamed the earth free. You could go there and it was like, whoa. And people like, hey, there's some tricks, you know. Clean. Yeah, let me take it. Clean. It was a whole thing, you know. Remember the whole deal was you had to be able to do it behind a counter.
Yeah.
So everyone's tables went from here down on all the tricks that were on the market at that time. So the thing you want to do is you want to draw a storyboard of the important moments. Just remember search and destroy. Bam, bam, bam. And so when you start to be aware that the pictures they remember are what's important, then you start to know how to start flowing your attention to clarifying those pictures. And as you get confident and comfortable, and this is really the hard part, because we always feel a lot of pressure on us when we're working for people. Does everyone know what it's like to feel like people need you to get on with it because they're only doing you a favor by watching? And gets you like defensive when you're working your magic. Well, the problem is you can't work your game if you're working defensive. So you have to be clear enough on what it is you're intending to show them. And then you have to, this is the term I use with the students a lot, is you have to stand your ground. You guys know about standing your ground? You guys ever see the movie Barry Lyndon? Probably not. But, I know you did. No, but you got to picture like a duel in the 1700s. So, I load up my musket, you load up your musket, you walk over there, I walk over here, we flip a coin, and then, okay, I'm going to shoot first while Dan stands his ground. That's where I fire my musket at him at point blank range, and he stands there. Talk about flop sweat, right? And then if he's still alive, now he gets to fire his musket at me while I stand my ground. And so this is something that we used to talk a great bit about in theater class when I went to school, is learning how to stand your ground. Because so much of it is about standing there under these lights when what you want to do is cry and hide, or at least do it really fast, or not focus on the pictures or anything else that you can cut and just do your shit and get out of there, pardon my language. But that's when you have to learn how to hold steady. So I'm going to break from this for just 1 second, and pardon me, and I'm going to show you an exercise that you can do at home. And we're not going to do the part with the sleight of hand. This often uses some sleight of hand and gets to a place where it uses sleight of hand. And hey, magic card lecture, everybody. But this is all you have to do, is you have to be able to practice, and I work with the students doing this, and it really does help things, is getting people used to the idea of looking at you and looking at this. And looking at you and looking at this. And at this point you're feeling, oh God, they're going to kill me if I don't get on with it. And that's when you got to learn to go, yeah, well, then they're just going to have to kill me. And I'm going to look at them, and I'm going to look at this. Because whatever I'm about to do with this coin, I can't do it unless you're hooked in. And this is the point of what Tamarice is talking about when he talks about the threads. Right? So I'm just going to go audible here and give you guys the entire, I'm going to give you the entire exercise. Get a wand and put it right here. And this is an open in transit action exercise. So first what you have to do is realize that you have your audience out here and the objects of the effect here. And what I picture is a sneaker with turned sideways, a Chuck Taylor All-Star, frankly. And there's all of these rows over here, and there's all of these rows over here, just like for the laces. And so when we talk about Tamarice, and you folks at home, you want to read that book, The 5 Points of Magic, where Tamarice's work on all of it, but in particular when he's talking about the gaze and the eyes, it's really some of the most important stuff ever written on how to direct the audience's attention that you're ever going to see. And what he says is we spend our time, and you guys have seen me doing this, I'm sure all the magicians that come here who are doing it right know how to do this, weaving the whole thing back and forth, and I'm including you at home, but I'm working back and forth. Now, of course, if I was just talking, if I was a Toastmaster, all I'd be doing is weaving eyes to eyes, right? But since I'm a magician, there's the objects of the effect, which I also have to weave into that. So rather than almost picturing tying threads to the audience, I'm picturing those laces in the shoe, right? So what I want to do is I want to go from there, an object on that row, to an object on this row. And you got to practice doing this, and I suggest you practice doing it with no moves at all. Hi, how's it going? Great to see you, you know? And one of the greatest exercises you can do, because the words will mess you up, right? So we always use the presentation that we all know, right? The trick is called Happy Birthday to You. And the whole job of this is to learn how to stand your ground and go from there to here, to there, to here, which is what we do in magic. And it's way easier to learn how to do it before we have to put a secret move in the middle of it, which makes it way more complex and a little bit more challenging and scary, right? Because despite what you may have heard, we're not as awesome liars as we wish we were in the Maj, right? So, I'll try it. And you can try it at home. And any of my students who are watching, they know that I've made them do this, so hi guys. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. Now it's going to feel like it's taking all year, but this, I think, is the essential element of starting to learn how to craft pictures. Because if I can't hold my gaze on what's important, how in the heck am I going to put it into your brain? And so it's all about slowing time down. It's all about tempo and slowing time down so they're listening to your song. You're not trying to work in time with their song because they're not the damn musician. They're not doing the show, right? So let's go a step further with it so you can see how to take the next exercise and do it with sleight of hand, okay? First you want to practice this. Around the same time you're practicing the gaze thing, you want to start learning this old vanish that I first saw David Williamson do at my first magic lecture I ever saw right around 1992, 3 years before I met Dan here. Okay? You practice this one. And of course, this is